CPP still hasn't done it. So that's the for all the folks who are out there who want to know, that's the harsh story of it. That I believe good journalism, back to where we're saying, should be saying, why are the poorest people in the city of Cleveland stay poor? And it's not just the light bill, but it's the water bill and so on and so forth. So, but that's my rant. I didn't bring you on here to talk about my rant. We came to talk about it.
I was curious about that, so I don't know. To me, that story was fascinating. But it also plays in, you and I both are in the same boat, though, where because we make money in the political sphere.
That's correct.
We have to make those moral decisions at certain points. What business we're willing to take, and that was why when I ran for city council. You see my headshot there, my homemade hat on the background here was I ran a $0 campaign to try to prove that it could be done. Because I want to encourage more people to not be intimidated. Usually it takes $20,000, they say, to run for city council in Cleveland Heights. I spent $350 on my campaign. I got about 4,000 votes last cycle.
Honestly, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't vote for any of those council members but you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't vote for nobody but you. I'm being honest.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, Davita had my back. Our friend Davita Russell, who's newly endorsed by the county council.
I looked at the ticket and I didn't see anything on that Cleveland Heights ticket, especially based off of what was going on, that made me feel as if again, representation and all the other stuff. I voted for you out of the fact of how you was running your campaign.
Oh, thank you.
And it was that. I'm a firm believer because I done did a lot of campaign. You need some money to win, and we're going to get
That's what they say. That's what Tony Kuda told me. He's like, you can't win. I was like, well, we'll see about that.
You did good, but it wouldn't hurt to have a little money.
Well, I think I would have won if I'd had the county and Cleveland Heights Dems endorsement. I think I would have then been able to shave off one of the slate members. So you had 4 people running as a slate, all nice people. Tony Kuda, Craig Cobb, Jessica Cohen, Joe DeWitt Foy. They won, right? And I finished 5th. Me and Anthony Maddox were basically tied for 5th and 6th. And so, but when I jumped in the race, there was only 3 people that had their signatures in. 2 weeks to go, I got so fed up with the nonstop bad press on my hometown. I was like, I gotta stop the bleeding, the bad PR bleeding for Cleveland Heights. So I jumped in, and then Jessica Cohen got in, who's a great candidate too. She was a shoo-in. And then that's what I thought, maybe me, but Tony Kuda, president of council, now he became the temporary mayor of Cleveland Heights. He looked at me and he was supporting me. But when I said I wasn't raising money, even in Cleveland Heights, he was like, no, you're out of, I can't bring you into my sort of coalition, in my slate. And then they aligned with Jim Petrus, who ran an unbelievable campaign and, beat our friend DeVita. But it was a really interesting experience. I think if everybody ran independent, I think I would have won.
That whole thing was a really interesting experience with me. I thought that it was an eye-opener to me, and I had some other issues that over the years messing around up there in Cleveland Heights. I used to be on the executive team and a few other things like that, but just the fact they got 2 Democratic clubs up there, never seemed to be on the same page with each other, and just the people, man, it's just never, it was never seemed warming and welcoming to me going there. And as my daughter got a little older as well, it never seemed to be welcoming to her as well. She had a few experiences where she went to a few of their meetings, and they just was, the old white folks up there can be mean, man. And I hate to be doing it like that, but they can be. And that's the part that really got me. And I watched them during the DeVita race, where DeVita definitely was qualified and did the work over the years to deserved an opportunity to become mayor. And the city politics, for whatever, I don't know what was the thought process behind it was, but they really had her. And I look at what they're doing now versus then. They got 110% with her now. We want her to be a state representative, but you wasn't good enough to be mayor, and I just don't get that. I stayed out. I didn't endorse either DeVita or Jim because I thought I wanted to be a good partner to whoever became mayor. I think, I supported DeVita on a personal level, especially when everybody was working against her. That's correct.
And I actually have some regrets. I feel like in some ways I gave their slate some cover. I don't think that necessarily they would have aligned if it was just DeVita and Anthony Maddox on the outside. They may not have aligned quite like they did, which may, so it was, in the end, I sort of worry about how my 4,000 votes maybe would have gone in the end. But I think that DeVita got in late unfortunately, into the race. And that really, and I think, and I've told her this a million times, that I think that really worked against her, you know? She and Jim both, no one really wanted that job. It wasn't being sold as a job most people really wanted. But I think Jim, and eventually was like, okay, I'm in. And then Davita sort of waited, and she had some family stuff she was dealing with. She finally got in late, and by the time she got in, everybody had already endorsed Jim, you know, sort of a line behind him. And that worked against Davita. And I think in the end, it was just too much to overcome. Jim had a big head start. And I think most people that I know were very happy would have been happy with either one. And I think people went with Jim thinking that he was going to be sort of like this stabilizing force. But you look back at the election when Mayor Sarin got elected, we had Melody Hart, white woman, against Barbara Danforth and Khalil Sarin. And the Cleveland Heights voters advanced the two African-American candidates to the final, right? And there have been times and Davita Russell, last time she ran for council, she had the most votes.
But
she had more votes than Tony Kuda.
Melody Hart, wouldn't they?
But I'm saying,
the politics was mad at Melody
Hart. They did
Hart.
advance the two candidates of color. So
well, they had no choice.
Well, no, they had a choice.
Well, I mean, the politics didn't want her.
No, yeah.
I mean, the politics didn't want the white candidate, where the politics wanted the candidate this time.
Sure.
And then that matters.
I just think Cleveland Heights in general, and this is where I sort of got into some arguments with Anthony Maddox and and like Mayor Sarin's approach was that, yes, there's races of course a factor, and it's like it's a constant struggle to sort of, you know, make people aware of their intrinsic biases. And it's like people are open to those conversations in Cleveland Heights. I do think that even the old ladies are open to talking about implicit bias. I do think that they are, especially after the last 5 years.
I think they're used to talking about it. Do they want to do anything about it? Because
well, they're only going to get so far. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about boomers. I mean, how far are you going to drag a boomer in one direction at this stage in their life?
Do you think Cleveland Heights governance reflect diversity?
The current right now, the picture does not. And I said do not put those pictures out of the whole council right now. I do think I'll be shocked if there's an empty seat still that they're trying to fill. Assume that's going to be a person of color. I'd not apply for that job because even though usually that person that finishes just out of the race will apply for the empty seat, I said nope. I'm not. It should go to a person of color at a minimum. And so I do think that they will step up to that. And I actually do think that the candidates that we have, the people in place, they don't look great.